Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Toronto. How you guys doing? I'm loving the size of the crowd. You guys have awesome energy. It's going really well. We have another Group B match for you, and I'm really excited about this game because the first player I'm going to bring out, this is it's not just his first Intel Extreme Masters. It's his first time ever playing on stage at a major event. He also happens to be from Toronto. They call him the Toronto Terran of Terror. Please seriously scream so loud for Root MaSa. And his opponent from Team Liquid, the highest ranking non-Korean in the world. It's gonna be a little bit tough. Please put it together for Liquid Snute.
All right, thank you very much. Players are in place then. We do have not only a homegrown talent, but a hometown favourite as well. It's going to be a big game for him on the stage in front of the crowd. Obviously, the crowd are going to get right behind him, but he goes up against a very resilient Zerg. There is no other way of putting it. Snute is the most resilient player in the world right now. I have no idea how he's made it this far, but his games against Hero, I think, will live with us for a very long time. Certainly, you, Todd, earlier on today, you got the video out because you were like, oh, this is moments from finishing. 25 minutes later of holding your phone steady recording, he was still playing. Incredible games.
I had no battery left.
No.
Yes, Snute is one guy who's not afraid to go the distance, but I don't know, in this matchup, I don't know if it matters as much, because in terms of Terran versus Zerg, usually we see quicker games. Stylistically, I think Snute more often than not plays just like Zergling, Baneling, Muta. I know he's up against a MaSa who's probably practiced himself a lot against that, but Snute probably getting the better practice in Europe over MaSa who practices in North America. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel about it.
Okay, that's fine. I think no bones. Let's just say it outright. The ladder's worse. That's fine. Having said that, MaSa came through a very difficult Canadian qualifier to get into the tournament. He won that outright himself, got himself into this tournament. The difference in ranking alone, and we don't usually use this as a kind of gauge as to where players are, but in this instance it actually plays a part. Snute in the top 16 in the world right now for WCS points. MaSa is ranked 101st. He is the lowest ranked player left in the round of 16 by a long way.
Fun fact, you have more points than him.
Red Eye has more points than MaSa. I don't know about that, but that is an enormous hurdle for him to overcome. But I guess he just comes out and plays because no one's going to have that expect. A bit like we were talking about earlier with Yoda. Less expectation, more room to do well, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, I think it won't work for MaSa though, because usually when you are the complete underdog, you do go into it like, whatever, I'm just going to give it my best shot, I'm not meant to win. But it's also, as Jarrett was saying, his first tournament. I really think that kind of outweighs it a little bit more. Being on the stage in front of so many people, playing, you know, as a Canadian in this tournament is going to put a lot of weight on his shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, we should point out, not his first tournament per se. He's done plenty of other tournaments. WCS America round of 32 in both Season 1 and Season 2. So he's got some form in terms of tournament history, just not on a big stage in front of a large crowd in Toronto. That's for sure. He's never experienced anything like this.
I mean, I look at this matchup with MaSa, who's just looking to get a win on the stage, whereas this guy wants to go to BlizzCon. Like his goals are so much bigger because it's not just about a single game. It's not about two games. It's not about a single group. It's about getting the points to make sure he is top 16.
I noticed that you two are sporting a Canadian flag, though.
I'm hopeful.
When I talk predictions now, are these flags in favour of MaSa here?
I'll let you answer first, mate.
Thanks, Apple.
we're all friends here, but we like throwing each other under the bus. It's fine.
If you look at their experience, obviously Snute attends almost everything that's out there, and MaSa doesn't attend many tournaments, but that could play in his favour. Snute doesn't have that much info on MaSa, so since I'm sporting a Canadian flag, I'm going to go for him. All right, MaSa's winning. And 2-0 as well.
God damn it. I didn't think you'd say that.
You were going to go for that.
Yeah, I was going to do that.
Okay, so Todd's got big testicles. Apollo?
Okay, I don't, so I'm going to say Snute 2-0.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Let's go over to the commentary team for our hometown matchup. It's a chance for Toronto to cheer the Terran Terror. Can MaSa do it against Snute? Let's find out.
All right, thanks very much, guys. That was interesting couch time. I don't think I've quite heard it just like that, but there you go. One apiece as Todd's going for MaSa, Apollo's going for Snute. Who are you going for, QXC?
Snute definitely seems like the most logical, the most likely person, but MaSa is so unpredictable. He's had some incredible runs, and then he's kind of disappeared for long periods of time. And then he comes back. For anybody not aware, MaSa qualified through the Canadian qualifier, taking down people like Kane and Scarlet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so he's already proven in that relatively recent tournament that he has incredibly solid TVZ. He can play with some of the best in the world, but it'll be a question right now of which MaSa we see. Do we see the Tyrant? Oh wait, no, that's Jaedong's nickname. Let's see. Let's make something up for MaSa. Well, we'll think about it. Do we see the killer that we saw in the Canadian qualifier, or do we see the Shadow MaSa, where he kind of fades from vision for a long period of time? And it's hard to say. The first map will be Nimbus, which probably going to see some macro games.
Yeah.
Nimbus, with that in-base natural expansion, you almost never see anything happen before 3-base.
Yeah, that's true. It's just so difficult to really do. I mean, overall, it's very difficult to be able to spot where your opponent is earlier on. Of course, all spawning locations optional, available here to these guys. But again, MaSa going up against Snute, I feel that aside from playing against Scarlet and doing well, doing 2-1 in the qualifier, this is his biggest challenge in this matchup, considering that Snute right now stands at the forefront of non-Korean hopefuls. I would say along with Bunny as well, with Bunny, who is looking good so far. So let's see what MaSa can do. This is good. This is interesting for me because I have never, ever, ever cast a game of MaSa. So I am looking forward to this myself.
Yeah, you'll see some of North American's finest coming out here in this next game.
Yeah, man.
And Snute has been doing a lot of practice these last couple of days, playing against a wide variety of people on the ladder. I know he's played some practice games against Bunny, and I've heard that sometimes in Terran versus Zerg, Snute will make Swarm hosts.
Oh yes, he will. And when he does, he is lethal. All right, let's get into this then. Game number 1, as we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner. It's our blue Zerg representing Team Liquid. It is Snute.
Snute.
He's pretty good at StarCraft. He is. And down to the bottom right-hand corner in the red, as he should be, representing Team Root, it is MaSa.
You can see his eyes flickered. He's like, oh, I can see them cheering. He knows he's going to get some of that Canadian power, just like what we heard from Huck yesterday, being in his hometown, well, his home country, with his fans and friends supporting him, gives you just sometimes that little bit of extra edge you need take these games.
No, you're right. I mean, look at what Hook did. I mean, going through the open bracket as he did, of course, not in the groups of the Emperor. Those results he put on the board were fantastic. Can MaSa continue that here for Canada is the big question, because Snute can be scary, and if you allow him, you mentioned it before, if you allow him to get to that Swarm host style against Terrans, it looks almost unstoppable. Very, very scary to deal with for the bio player.
Yeah, I was talking to Bunny about this, and he basically says, you know, the countdown clock that a lot of Terrans feel exists in this matchup, normally it's, you know, you don't let, like, how do you kill Ultraless Broodlord? Like, you just don't let it ever happen. You kill the Zerg before it happens. And Bunny was saying, you don't let Snute get Swarm Host, because as soon as that happens, the game becomes what he feels almost unwinnable. And coming from a player at the caliber and quality of Bunny, it was kind of scary.
Yeah.
I don't really want to go against something that he seems thinks is unwinnable.
No, exactly. I mean, Snute, to be fair, is one of the best at using Swarm hosts in the entire game right now. He just knows exactly what to do with them. He's had pretty much the most practice with them on ladder, unless you're in the European ladder, and Firecake also has quite a bit of practice as well, but that's not exactly the same level. So for now, Snute, he did spot out MaSa already, right? So down to the bottom right, so that's a good start at least.
The Overlord flies right into MaSa's base, and I think Snute's going to actually send that Overlord behind his base. He's going to use it to scout from that direction later on, and MaSa does not need SCV scout because he knows that Overlord only could have come from one base.
Yeah, and looking around there, seeing that gas at that particular time, Reaper's on the way, with a command center behind that here for MaSa, so he's not going for something too super aggressive earlier on. He's looking to play it out a little bit further, which is cool, because I really want to see how MaSa's metal can be tested here. I want to see what he can do against the caliber of a player like Snute.
Yep. Reaper's going to go in, does a little bit of damage here, and it's very important for Snute to keep as many Lings alive as he can. Basically, he wants to hold onto them, preserve them until speed finishes, and then he gets just that little bit of extra control on the map. One Ling goes down, and the Queen's going to come out, and MaSa's going to have to back up with that Reaper. Meanwhile, at home, transitioning into that factory, building a couple of Marines. He'll be able to use those to deny scouting, and the Reaper... Where's the Reaper going?
It's actually going home, because the thing is that Reaper technically saw when speed started exactly if MaSa was paying a lot of attention. He saw the wiggle begin. So
is he going to be able to deny that? He needs to get... Yeah, he does
nice.
deny the third base, so this is going to delay Snute's transition a lot here. These Lings are going to be enough to defend that drone, and the Queen is going to be very uncomfortable if it goes all the way down to get to that position. The Queen is going to be off creep for a long time, and that opens up some vulnerabilities here. In this game, not too much.
Hey, look at this. MaSa already bringing out 2 Marines as well. Going to get himself an Overlord. The Marines are being protected by the Reaper here from Zerglings. And as you said before, the Queen can't really get down here to reinforce.
Yeah,
so
and this
great start.
This is very ambitious for Snute right now. One Overlord goes down. If MaSa recognizes that it's just one Queen here, he can actually force an engagement right away. But speed is about to finish. Snute is making a couple more Zerglings. He's up to 8 Zerglings now, I think. Yeah, 8 Zerglings.
Yep.
So it's time for MaSa to play a little bit more defensive, but as soon as these Hellions get here, he's going to have some opportunities to do some counterplay.
And I really like this composition here from MaSa as well. Back at home, he's got a 3rd command center going down, so it's not like he's doing something super ridiculously aggressive, but with this small composition of units, he is putting the pressure onto Snute here.
Yeah, so the main difference here is he's chosen to go for one Reaper that allows him to get the reactor a bit faster, and that opens up opportunities to make those Marines. The 3rd command center is a bit later because he made 4 Marines, but like you said, it gives him this ability to pressure Snute. He's forcing out a lot of Zerglings. Snute doesn't really know what this is. He doesn't know if there's Hellbats behind it. He doesn't know if there's Banshees. So he makes a lot of Zerglings to try and reestablish map control. And 3 Marines go down.
Good catch actually there by Snute to be able to pick up those Marines without getting too singed by those Hellions. And as you said, he doesn't really know a whole lot. MaSa's playing so greedy, double engineering bay here before any more tech, any more infrastructure. That's pretty cool here by MaSa.
And MaSa with no real information. All he saw was that fast third hatchery and the influx of Lings. This could easily be some kind of timing behind it, but it's not. Snute is going into just that 3rd hatchery. He's already started saturating it, going up to 12 drones. And it's the impetus is kind of on MaSa to make something happen right now. He's a little bit too far behind on workers. The Marines did get that one Overlord, but he wants to get a little more damage done if possible. Lings are going to go in here into MaSa's natural. A nice wall up allows him to get the supply depot up, and now the Lings are trapped. I think he's going to be able to clean up with these Hellions.
Yeah, poked forward, saw the production facilities being added on there as well. So behind that, Snute, being the player that he is, can probably infer exactly what's going on as well with the idea of, you know, the engineering base down. I don't think he's seen the entirety of it. So, and he did see the command center as well as the bunker that was going down to try and sort that out. So Snute knows it's going to be a 3-base turn very, very soon. And from there on, he can play around it.
The big problem for MaSa right now is he's down 25 workers, and he doesn't really have much to show for it. His upgrades are not really that far ahead of his opponents. He doesn't really have any significant army advantage. He doesn't have a way to convert that disadvantage, or an edge to that disadvantage. It's like nothing has really happened, and he's just down a significant amount of economy. It's going to be difficult here. He needs to very quickly get out on the map and make sure this game doesn't get out of his control.
Yeah, definitely. With those Hellions, you can poke around a little bit. Has to be careful that maybe an influx of Zerglings trying to wrap around it. But for now, maybe just poking around. The thing is about Snute, though, is that he spreads his creep pretty darn well. It's all right now at the moment here, spreading out through the middle, also spreading out on the right-hand side, making sure that this angle is covered in terms of vision, as well as denying the Terran from really poking too far towards that base. Because if there wasn't the creep there, that 3rd base could be vulnerable to these Hellions.
Yeah, and The creep now is really going to be about protecting that 4th base. He wants to make sure that if MaSa pushes between these bases, they're obviously very close to each other, then he has to be on creep in order to attack him. And MaSa's using his Hellions kind of to brush back the creep a little bit, but not really doing much. One SCV goes down, and just a little pickup here and there from Snute, getting a little bit of pressure on his opponent, kind of trying to control the tempo in this game.
That's a very, very early burrow that we're seeing here from Snute and centrifugal hooks, so we're probably just going to see Baneling landmines positioned around to try and catch out MaSa where he can. Snute, I think he feels like comfortable enough to do this at this point, because really MaSa hasn't put on too much aggression, too much threat to him throughout the later stages of this game after that Helium little poke out.
Snute should be feeling pretty comfortable right now. Like you said, there's just not been anything that's inhibited his growth in any significant way since that very early part of the game.
Yeah. Well, they have even Pneumatized Carapace as well on the way here, so you can get those overlords in the right position to have a little bit of a look around of opponent's base, make sure everything's okay. Good use of the scans overall, though, by MaSa to clean up the active creep tumors, so it causes Snute a little bit more problems to spread out again.
He's got a lot of energy on his queen, so it's not like Snute can't replace them, but every tumor he's got to replace is something that he could have been doing elsewhere. Instead of replacing creep tumors, he could be attacking, he could be macroing, he'd be doing things like that. And so we can already see that Snute has kind of given up on spreading creep out into the center of the map. There's only a little bit there, there's no active tumors, and that's going to open up some opportunities here for MaSa in order to, he can control that part of the map and then force favorable engagements off of creep.
I'm just a little bit scared that eventually here for MaSa, Snute is going to show us a light show. I mean, these Banelings, if they get set up out of vision, are going to cause quite a bit of problems here to MaSa, but he is very close to his opponent's 4th base, which is quite nice for MaSa if he can kind of entrench here and slowly push forwards, because the creep was denied earlier on.
Yep. MaSa's playing this very carefully, and that's exactly what he needs to do. He didn't do a build that gave him any sort of big advantage. He wasn't taking any real big risks early on, so he needs to just control space on the map and force favorable engagements. There's no opportunities right now for him to actually force a true head-on engagement on creep. If Snute wants to take the fight to him, that's okay, but he needs to be very careful about actually going on a creep. A lot of Banelings go down, 2 Widowmines there, and Snute is trading a lot of Banelings, and the Swarm hosts have actually started.
Yeah, they're trickling off here and there. MaSa, though, doesn't have a massive force here right now, so pushing forward is going to be a little more difficult whilst all this is going on. Clearing more creep up, though, between these 2 locations, making it harder for Snute to reinforce at this 4th base. Almost, if he had more forces here, he could try and actually cut off reinforcements. But as you said, with the Swarm hosts now on the way, this could get a little bit sticky for MaSa, because I don't know how much Swarm hosts with he's played against before.
Yeah, it's a very unusual style. I think I've only played it against maybe once or twice.
Right.
If that, and you know...
Good connection there for MaSa on those Banelings. So killing off quite a few of them with these 3 Widowmines. Did take up 3 charges in the end, but here are the Swarm hosts now, and what is he supposed to do? I mean, they are reinforced by Lings and Mutalisks, unless he kind of just scans and goes in, and I think he actually is going to try and do that. There's not too many Lings here to support
one Swarm host goes down, and actually forcing a big battle right now.
A few Banelings trying to roll on forwards here, connecting with Marauders at the front. Hey, MaSa's actually doing pretty well here, really trying to take the initiative, seizing the initiative, getting on top of these Swarm hosts, and there's not that much to actually complement them at the moment.
Yep, he needs one more scan here. He needs to spread out his units. The Banelings getting some nice connections here. The Mutalisks aren't really supported by much now. He needs a scan, though. There's no units on the ground for Snute.
Yeah, 40 Zerglings on the way, though. As those come out here, it's going to be a little bit difficult for MaSa to really deal with. He's forced to pick up and get out of here. And the thing is that with these Widowmines now going up against Swarm hosts, the Widowmines are almost useless unless you keep on burrowing them and running away from Locust. Taking up the shots from the Locust is not effective here for MaSa.
So the Widowmines now basically become a form of Storm, which is they're not a way that you're going to use to keep the Locust at bay for a long amount of time, but they're that burst damage you need sometimes to break the position. And a little bit of a fight here. It looks like Snute's going to come out on top, but MaSa doing a big drop at Snute's 3rd.
Yeah, this is very smart. I mean, he got overwhelmed to the top. That's fine. Well, not really fine, but doing this, going around the other angle and looking for other opportunities against the immobile unit that is the Swarm host is good, but Snute is reinforcing this with Mutalisks. So Swarm host is something that we saw a lot against mech play, but against Bio here, it's quite the difference. As long as you're just looking for the drops with the Mutalisks, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, the Mutalisks here support the Swarm Host. The thing is that it reduces just the Baneling count is going to be lower, the Swarm Host count is not going to be particularly high, and the Muta count, if you think about this same strategy against Mech, you usually have a much stronger economy when playing against Mech because the Meching player has much less map control, much less map presence. The Banelings eat into that Swarm Host and Muta count, and the Mutalisks actually are they going to go? They're probably just going to snipe this Gas Geyser. A very safe move from Snute. It allows him to be able to kill all the SCVs, deny the gas mining, which isn't a big deal at this point. MaSa's kind of hit the point where he doesn't need more gas for the composition he's doing. And MaSa may be kind of racking his brain, thinking like, well, what do I actually do against this? He started siege tank production, and he's going to be going into 3-3. The second factory is still on a reactor, so he's continuing to commit 2 Widow Mines.
Yeah.
But is that really what he wants? It's very hard in the heat of the moment to decide exactly. You face something that maybe you've seen a few times before, never really played against, and now you have to figure out exactly what you need to do to beat it.
Yeah, overall this game can go the distance because MaSa right now is actually, holding his own during this game, but one wonders what is going to happen when this Swarm Host number gets out of control, because this army is going to try and trade eventually, unless he just keeps dancing around on either side, which for me, in my mind, is like the right thing to do. I'm not 100% sure, but like not engaging the Swarm Host at all, like right now, feels like the best thing.
Yeah, well, it all comes down to locusts don't cost money. So anytime you lose any kind of money, to the locusts, you're losing the long game. And so what MaSa's doing right now is denying the army at the top will probably be kind of permanently parked there until Snute actually forcibly removes it. That's what he's going to do now. And that's to deny the 5th base, and he's just trying to limit Snute's economy and kind of bleed him out. But Snute, because he's basically making trades for free, he doesn't need a super strong economy. If we think back to, for anyone who's watching some of the earlier games, Snute versus Hero was up to 6, 7, 8 bases. Snute was sitting on a 4-base economy, and he was comfortable. It wasn't excellent, but when the majority of your army is able to influence the game without actually costing any finite resource at all, all Locust really costs is time. You have to wait a certain amount of time before they come. You have to wait, and then there's a certain vulnerability when they go away. But Snute doesn't really need a whole lot of economy to continue this production.
Yeah, and the thing is that Snute is one of the most patient guys in the business, right? I mean, we've already seen it this tournament, and he'll continue to do that again. MaSa is the one that needs to put the pieces together, find the solution. Right now, pushing through the middle, killing a few queens. Really, I mean, is that what's going to do much? Not a whole lot right now. It's the drops that need to do something, and they just got cleaned up by the Mutalisks.
Yep.
So
the drops are incredibly difficult to make work, especially on this map. The 4 bases are all very close by air, and the bases that aren't super close by air are close by ground, so he can kind of bring his Baneling force to bear on anything that's too close, and the Mutalisk can swing back and forth between the main and the 4th and clean up any drops like that. So right now, Snute's actually making the transition into Vipers, and he'll be able to use that to blinding cloud the siege tanks and also to abduct them.
Yeah.
And the Mutalisks now don't really have a lot to do defensively, so Snute is free to use them to kind of deny this base.
Exactly. The Swarm Hosts are the shield, the Mutalisks are the sword, basically, as he tries to just find any little angles to do the damage. And this is technically what MaSa should be doing. MaSa should be, trying to drop him multiple angles, trying to draw him away. But when there are these Mutalisks and the map presence that we have for Snute on the top of the map as well, with the creep also just providing him that vision, it's very difficult for MaSa to find a hole here, a weakness.
And basically right now, MaSa's edge in this game that he's trying to conquer the Swarm Host through is by the superior economy. He's got those extra orbitals, his 5th is going down, but the economy is not really... There doesn't seem to be much going for him. Like, he's not making a better army. He's just getting a bit more money. And because he's still been trading with the Locust, he's not actually banking really any money at all. Scan here, it looks like he may be trying to break the center.
So many upgrades finishing as well here. Catches 4 Swarm Hosts in the middle. Nice start here for MaSa, but there's probably a lot more where that came from as they get replenished instantaneously.
Yep.
But the Siege Tanks, I think MaSa just has to try and slowly move forwards. I can't... again, it's very, very difficult for him to find the solution.
Yep, and Snute has now denied that 5th base, so MaSa going back down 2 4 bases. The Swarm Host burrowing in the center of the map, and now MaSa it feels like he's a little lost.
Yeah.
He's not really attacking that north base anymore. He hasn't made any big moves towards the center, and at the same time, he's got no real transition. Whether that be battle cruisers or Ravens, I'm not saying any of those are the correct solution. I'm not familiar enough with the style to really know what he should do. But the point is that MaSa isn't really trying to do anything to change the state of the game.
Well, overall, I mean, I talked to Snute before the tournament actually even began. And he was a little bit sad that he didn't have as many Terrans as he would like to on his pathway here, because he feels that this style, in this matchup, he cannot be beaten. Like, he wants to be playing these big-name Terrans because he feels this style cannot be broken. So can MaSa now figure this out? I mean, right now, it's just a bit of a stalemate with MaSa being bled dry. Look how many minerals he has. He doesn't have anything, really.
Oh, huge
Ooh.
blinding clouds, and one abduct. The Thor is going to get picked off. Second Thor goes down, and that's free.
Yes, exactly. That is free. A little bit of energy here and there.
Yeah, but the energy isn't really a cost. And
yes.
now,
and here comes the sword again, just backstabbing constantly.
Yep. MaSa forced to pull back here. He needs to deal with some of these Mutalisks. The Siege Tanks can't really hold against the Locust. He needs a lot more tanks if he wants to just siege and hold.
Ooh.
And the Muta's actually trying to take the fight here. There's not very many Marines. MaSa's army is very Marauder heavy right now.
He's just actually got ripped apart here. He just ripped apart. I mean, this is very exciting for me to watch because right now Snute is... Once he's got to this position, it's almost a masterclass in how to actually use this style. I mean, 12 more Mutalisks on the way. He just killed a ton of MaSa's army. And now all he has is these defenseless siege tanks that are just going to absolutely fall. This is brilliant play by Snute. Absolutely brilliant.
And that's going to be it. As soon as MaSa decides GG, Snute takes it in very convincing fashion.
There's almost points in that game as a caster where you're a little bit speechless in a job where you're supposed to be speaking. You don't really know a whole lot of what you want to say because the Snute makes that style look ridiculous when he gets to that position. MaSa is racking his brain right now on what you can do against something like that.
Yeah.
So very difficult.
And for MaSa, I think the best absolute thing for him right now is to not play against that style.
Not let that happen.
Yeah,
not even get there.
Don't even... I talked to Stardust, and, you know, Hero, Stardust, Life, Snute, they were all in that same open bracket.
Yeah.
And Snute, of course, beating Hero twice in order to make it through. And the look on Stardust's face when he found out that Snute had beat Hero for the first time, and that Hero was now going to be Stardust's opponent, he's like... Stardust comes up to me, he's like, I never lose to Snute. Ever. Because I always kill him before he does this.
Yes.
It's not like Stardust does not know how to beat that strategy. He knows how to stop it from ever happening. And I think instead of, for MaSa right now, he doesn't need to figure out how to beat Swarmhost. He doesn't need to go into Snute's greatest comfort zone where he thinks he is unbeatable and try and, you know, in the spur of, he's got 3 minutes to decide how he's going to counter. Like, no. You just need to figure out how you're going to end the game before 15 minutes.
Yeah.
2 more times. And that's how you're going to win this series, because that, you know, Snute's practiced that style probably 60, 100, 500 games, you know, however long he's been practicing it. And for someone to come in and be like, all right, yeah, I'm confident that I'm going to be able to figure this style out in 5 minutes. You know, it's just not going to happen. And so the approach of, it's time to 2 racks, it's time to 888, it's time to Hellbat, it's time to 2 base all in. Whatever it takes to keep the situation that you just saw from happening again is where MaSa's energy needs to be focused.
And that's why we have you here, QXC, to give us analysis like that. Let's get into game number 2, man. As we have, spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, it's our blue Zerg. Representing Team Liquid, give it up for Snute. And up to the top left, we have our red Terran. Representing Canada, representing Team Root. He needs your cheers. Give it up for MaSa.
All right, Foxtrot Labs. We do have, for those of you who are watching the TVZ that happened just a little bit ago, Yoda versus Leenock, we had this map, but we had the other spawns. Foxtrot Labs is basically 2 maps, because you can either spawn top left, bottom right, or bottom left, top right. Now we've got top left, bottom right, and the big difference here is the third base can be the gold. It's so accessible, it's so easy for both players to take. At the same time, it's really interesting how easy it is to punish. You can see right outside the gold base, there's really no space at all. Like, you can just park units. You can almost kill drones with melee units. Like, you're so close there.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of strategies that will involve taking that third base very early and then using it to pump out a huge amount of units, whether that's roaches, hydras, a large amount of lings. There are just a lot of different strategies here that you can use to take advantage of that. But the most important thing right now is that Snute went pool first. And so, like you were talking about on Sage... Wait, was that you? No. Somebody was talking about on Sejong. You can make some early lings, and you can kind of circumvent the Reaper. You can get a cancel on the command center, and this is all very effective if your opponent chooses not to SCV scout, or if your opponent goes for a relatively early or relatively late Reaper. So there's the 11-11 Reaper, which comes out, 20-ish seconds earlier than the 12-12. If he goes 12-12, builds a reactor and doesn't SCV scout, and these lings get by, they're going to be able to force a command center cancel. They might be able to even kill the reactor and get into his base. So it's all about, is this Reaper going to see the Zerglings? Yes, it does. And that is so huge for MaSa. The amount of damage that he almost gets them surrounded. And basically now he's just got to kill all the lings. He'll have to fall back with the Reaper, because you can see Snute's already sending some of the lings around.
Yeah. And the cool thing about this for MaSa actually spotting that is, like, some people will say, well, yeah, but he's killing lings. Like, well, he could be over there trying to harass drones or something like that. But, well, no, because the Queen will be out. And also, with these lings having popped and not doing a whole lot, although somehow 3 got here.
Yeah, well, he split them up.
Yeah.
And MaSa was very determined to kill at least the lings that he was next to, which is pretty reasonable. Now the one SCV does go down. The second SCV is losing some building time. Does not want to lose that second SCV, and Snute's not going to target here. So what MaSa, the big thing now is MaSa needs to start a second supply depot. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He's going to be fine.
He's done. Yeah,
he didn't lose as much building time as I thought he did.
Yeah, he did all right there.
Yep.
And then behind this, Snute actually starting speed pretty quickly to maybe continue on with it. I mean, he's pulled out of gas now, and obviously he wants that there to be able to just shoo away that Reaper, as he knows it's now free and good to go.
Well, so the speed timing isn't very unusual here. It's about a minute out, so it's going to be like a 640 speed, which is about the latest you might expect. MaSa's Reaper did get in, but he saw that there was no mining. Oh, loses the
good
Reaper.
Queen positioning overall.
Yep. Well, now MaSa's very much in the dark, and Snute is going very heavy on the drones. Part of the problem right now, and the reason for this early bunker in that position, is MaSa doesn't know how early he started speed.
And
Roach Warren.
He has to be very careful, because Snute can just flip the switch just like that if he really wants to.
Yep. This is probably, in terms of the build's best case scenario for MaSa. He's starting a Banshee here, and he's on 1 gas. 2 gas might be a little better, but 1 gas is fine. The Banshee will be very good at repelling the roaches. He just needs to make sure that he sees the roaches coming early enough. If the Banshee, it's the same thing with the lings and the Reaper. If the Banshee flies past the roaches and the roaches get to his base, it's not really going to be effective. But if the Banshee can intercept the roaches as soon as they leave Snute's base, then he'll be able to do a lot of damage to them.
And really, really good time there by MaSa to get kill off those active creep tumors that were about to be spread.
Yep.
Just denying that a little bit at the front. The earlier energy on Queens is a little bit more valuable than it is later on in the game. So that's a nice start there for MaSa. Baneling Nest goes down as well. 10 roaches are on the way.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So Banshees have
see.
got a lot to do, basically.
He's going to commit very heavily to this Roach Bane. Needs to keep these Hellions here. If he moves them off to the side and the roaches get by, that's going to make it almost impossible for him to defend. As long as he sees the roaches now, scans, and now it's all about crisis management. MaSa, what are you going to do? How can you defend this? Should be starting Marauders, making a couple of bunkers. The Banshee is here. The Banshee is going to make a huge difference in this defense.
Yeah, definitely. Already going to work on these roaches. It did turn back for a second, came back as it realized, well, you know, I can just go to work on these roaches before they even get there. But the Lings are on the way. Baneling Nest just about to finish up as well. And, well, that's quite a lot of Hellions that he still has retained during all of this. So MaSa could make this defense happen.
Yeah, he's got a very solid position right now. It's going to be pretty hard for him to break that bunker with all the SCVs repairing it. The Lings can't really attack the bunker at all because of these Hellions, because of the SCVs in the way. What Snute is trying to do now is take out the Hellions so those Banelings can be more effective.
Exactly, and they actually do crash through that very, very quickly. MaSa not only supply block during this, but also actually trying to scramble back. He doesn't really have huge amounts of units anymore. 2 Hellions, 1 Banshee, 2 Marines are really all he has, but the Banshee is doing work, killing off a lot.
Banshee's got 14 kills right now. That is the hero of this engagement. One more Roach is going to go down, and the wall to MaSa's main is going to stay up. One siege tank comes out. MaSa is stabilized here. He's lost 10 workers, but he's going to keep on in this game.
He is, and Snute, though, behind it, added on a lot of extra drones, so he's at 50 workers now to 33.
Yep.
Because, you know, he just didn't need to continue on with that aggression. He denied some mining time, killed those workers, as you mentioned, which is all right here for Snute. So now he just continues on with his layer production, layer tech. He's got his Spire on the way, centrifugal hooks to shut down anything that would come along, and whilst the Banshee was busy in the mid, he added on Spore Crawlers as well, so the Banshee's going to have a hard time doing any more damage.
Yeah, well, the Banshee didn't ever have Cloak, so it's not as big of a commitment. The main edge for MaSa right now is his upgrades are very early compared to Snute's. He does not have an armory, though, and he does not have anywhere close to the gas he needs to continue those upgrades. So that's going to give him a nice timing window, several minutes, about 2 minutes, where he'll be able to be at 1-1 versus Snute 0-0. But Snute will be catching up in those upgrades because it's going to take him a bit of time before he gets that armory and he gets that 350 gas that he needs to actually start those upgrades once the armory finishes.
Yeah, MaSa needs to catch up in terms of the workers. He's got 3 on the way at any given time now because he does have that 3rd command center finished and good to go. But still, Snute is on 70 workers. I mean, his economy is flourishing behind all of this. His upgrades are going. He's getting those Banelings out to be able to deal with this. Centrifugal hooks is just finished as well. So anything that MaSa does, if he moves onto creep, which has been very strong again by Snute up to this top right-hand side, he's got to be very careful and methodical about it because Snute has the answers at the moment.
Yes, and Snute now at 70 drones, like you said, he's able to basically switch into full unit production. He doesn't need any more drones until he secures his 4th. But because MaSa has not landed his 3rd himself, there's really no pressure for Snute to take his 4th this early. He can just play a little more defensive, consolidate his position, and the Lings are going to try and get out here, but a couple siege tank shots are going to deflect that, no problem.
Snute, though, just producing now across these 3 bases. And as he racks up that supply, a little bit of supply block is going to be in a second, actually, with this. So starts 3 Overlords instantly. A bit of a blunder, but overall should be able to overwhelm. Actually just catches a siege tank with some of these Banelings. Continues on forwards, really wants to get the wraparound on some of this Bioforce. A great shot there by that siege tank to take down some of the Banelings. MaSa didn't do too terribly there.
Yeah, that fight definitely went very well for MaSa, considering the disparity in the supplies. And MaSa is actually going to start his +2. Snute committed a lot of gas to the Banelings. I'm trying to figure out why Snute doesn't have mutas, and I think the actual reason is he's just chosen not to build any so far.
I think the supply block hurt him as well, though.
Yeah,
for quite a while during that.
And he has no larva right now. So Queens in the main and the natural have about 50, 80 energy, so perhaps being a little bit distracted by the Roach Bane and that follow-up pressure, he has not been hitting his injects quite as well as he wanted to, and that has kind of led him to a position where he had a lot of money and he's only now converting it into Mutalisk. He's making about 8 or 10. 2-2 has started for both players, but again, MaSa with a slight advantage here, although this one is only about 20 seconds. Not a big deal.
And MaSa basically just using the gold base as an extension of his arm to constantly put pressure down, as well as try and defend that location as well. Good run by here, though, by Snute to start things off, getting a siege tank, maybe getting a few SCV kills. They are being healed, tried to keep alive whilst that Banshee goes to work.
Yep.
And the bio eventually pushes it away, but again, if this area is breached by MaSa, it's almost lights out, so he has to protect whilst also pushing along.
Yeah, this area's... He's got to put a bunker down, probably finish his supply depot wall, maybe commit some units back home. But right now, it's really... He just doesn't quite have enough supply to be out on the map and be aggressive. He doesn't have combat shields either. And it's not so much that Snute has way more army than he does. It's just because the Zerg army at this point in the game is so mobile, it's very hard to both attack and defend at the same time. Snute can run in with a small, relatively small group of Lings, force MaSa's army to go home, threaten this counterattack, and he's actually going to get a little bit of surround here. Snute is going to back off here. He recognizes that MaSa's got most of his army at home, and that should give him license to kind of drone up, get his fourth saturated the way he wants to, and go into a solid economic game.
Yeah, it's also, you know, giving him good opportunities to the Mutalisks again, as so far, MaSa right now, keeping up in terms of supply, doing all right, grabbing himself a sensor tower to make sure he can shut down the engagements, but there's no missile turrets in the main!
No missile turret. This is... man, that's a disappointing thing to happen because just 1 or 2 missile turrets can deflect that with no problem. One engineering bay is taking a lot of damage, but Snute's not targeting the one that is actually researching, and now the Mutas are gonna fly out. A little bit of a run by at the third.
Yeah, doing a bit of damage where he can. Snute just finding all the angles, really, to try and exploit MaSa, and MaSa's falling behind a little bit in terms of supply, especially now since Snute is skyrocketing, and this is giving him a great opportunity once again to start enduring locusts. So from this point on, unless MaSa starts doing that, there's a timer above his head. He has to make some damage happen very, very soon. Otherwise, he's going to be in the same situation as game number 1.
Yep. And you can see with the creep spread that Snute has already, it's going to be so easy. He can basically park his swarm host very close to his fourth, set up a little bit of static D, and he'll be able to pretty easily pressure MaSa's third. Meanwhile, the Mutalisk count is kind of out of control at this point. He's got just about 25 Mutalisks. He's able to use those to pin most of MaSa's army back while he continues to increase his own economy.
A lot more Lings on the way now, just to probably add in some Banelings here. That'll give him even more room to just get the Swarm Host going once he wants to. Hive is about to finish up as well, grabbing himself at Medevac. It's just... for MaSa, it's a little bit scaling out of control, just like those Mutalisks were just a bit ago, as they're still looking for angles. They're still looking to poke and prod. Nope. At least he's got plenty of Marines there.
Yep, both players paying a lot of attention there. MaSa, I don't think is going to try and push out until he gets maxed. He's kind of recognized that he doesn't have a ton of supply. He's been a little behind ever since the Mutas went into his main and killed a fair number of SCVs. And in order to have enough supply to both attack and defend, he's got to just wait a little bit longer here.
Yes, he does. Trying to clean up some of the creep up to the north. It keeps just extending out, though. So the thing is if he cleans up creep up to the top right, Snute will just push creep down to the bottom left. Like, so that's how Snute really prioritizes creep spreading during all of this. And he finds another angle.
Yeah, a little bit of a two-pronged attack here. Snute is actually cleaning up a lot of SCVs now. The fourth is not able to stabilize for MaSa.
A lot of Banelings here as well. He's not going to push in. He doesn't have his full army here or anything like that. But Snute at this point, with his army, he doesn't need to go for a frontal attack. That's the thing. He's got 11 Swarm Hosts on the way. He's going to have Adrenal Glands, +3 Carapace, armor on his flyers as well. It's... unfortunately, again, now that timer that was above MaSa's head is almost spelling midnight. He needs to do something. Yeah.
Or unless he needs to reveal some understanding that he's gained from that last game. But it's looking very difficult for him. +3 weapons is now finishing, but Snute's +3 Carapace is only about 2 minutes away. MaSa is now maxed, or, well, he's almost maxed. He's at 188 out of 188. With the drop in the bottom has nothing saw it? Is it really? It really snuck by? I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
looks
now
like it.
now it's going to be spotted.
Yeah, but they're the Overlords.
Yep.
A little bit of an engagement in the middle. The Queens decide to burrow to save themselves tonight, because quick thinking there by Snute. And this drop's having a hard time. There are already Spore Crawlers in position to try and kind of stop this situation from really happening. But he just clicked, he saw the Ultralisk Cavern, and he's got to be a little bit worried about how this game is going at this point.
Yeah, he needs to get out and he needs to make something happen here. Trading against Locust is never going to be the answer. Exactly what it is hard to say. He's going to focus fire down the Ultralisk Cavern in the main. Mutalisk coming back to clean it up. The Ultralisk Cavern goes down. That buys him a little bit more time before he has to deal with that increased army density. Ultras being very strong for the 6 supply that they cost.
That's true. And, well, in the end, I mean, if you think about how game number 1 went, that we didn't even get to that stage of the plan for Snute.
Yep.
He was just able to win out before that even occurred. So in this game here, MaSa needs to solve this first puzzle before he even gets to that one, which he's slowed down just a little bit. But right now, Snute is on all angles, constantly threatening.
Yep. And MaSa just keeps trying to trade with the Locust. He really needs to do something else about them, whether it's going around or making a big tech transition. Trading with the Locust, even with these medevacs supported, is not really going to go so well for him. The Locust, or the Swarmos, are now very aggressively placed. This may open up an opportunity for MaSa. If you can ever kill the Locust quickly enough, you have a very strong timing window where the Locusts are basically undefended, especially this close to MaSa's base. The Banelings, if they have to defend the Swarmos, will be off creep.
Yeah, you're right, they will be. But again, even if he does try and breach on forwards, the Thors are going to be the attempt at that. Like,
oh no!
That poor little medevac's going to go down.
No, Thors.
Also the Thors.
Thors, you're not accomplishing anything.
You're not helping the situation, Thors. Get back.
You're just dying. You're not. There's no money lost for Snute right now.
And grabs himself a command center as well. MaSa here. Not doing so well against this style, but as we've said before, who can do well against this style? Snute feels that it's impenetrable, and he's showing here. What are you supposed to do against this?
Yep. Well, and this is kind of what we've seen with every major powerful style. Is there's been usually a relatively long period of dominance where the style is quote unbeatable, and we saw that with Blink Stalkers in TVP for several weeks. Ling Infester, Broodlord Infester, lots of different things, and Snute is pioneering this style, showcasing it this is the first time I've ever seen it, really, and I'm not sure how much he's been doing it in the past, but really putting it on display here in this series against MaSa.
Yeah, again, Snute right here with the Swarm Host, just putting all the pressure on at that third base, which is almost mined down now as the gold.
Yep.
It's really that one base on the left-hand side that is the lifeblood here right now of MaSa, but the Mutalists were camping the production, making it hard for him to do anything. He's supply blocked because he killed a load of supply depots off as well, and even if MaSa is able to break this entire middle section and somehow deal with the Mutalisks, there's a massive bank for Snute as well, which he could just replenish on Ultralisks if he wanted to, now that Ultralisk Cavern's there.
Probably if Snute were to lose his army right now, he would make 10 Ultralisks, plus a big influx of Zerglings.
Are the Banelings just going to crash into this planetary? I mean, they can do if they really want to. And yes, they do. Carnage as he brings down the last bastion, really, of MaSa. He needs that base. He absolutely needs that to keep himself in this game.
Yeah, MaSa with basically no income at this point. Third base is mined out. Natural is basically mined out. Main is basically mined out. He has almost no income at all. Meanwhile, Snute is on a very comfortable 5 bases, and he is continuing. GG, that's it.
You've got to tap out. You've got to.
MaSa with 170 supply, Snute at 200 supply, and he just realizes there is no way he's going to win the game. Snute has complete control, and that's it.
He never takes a straight-up engagement. It doesn't... He can...
Oh, man.
Deal with it, bro. Deal with it. Wow. There you go. And that's Snute showing his dominance in this matchup, as MaSa unfortunately fell to this style, which looks extremely, extremely formidable.
Yeah, there's definitely a period of time where you see Snute is vulnerable. He's kind of playing in a way that you expect to, and then all of a sudden it turns into this extended siege where it's like, who knows? Who knows what is going on or what's happening here?
Yeah.
And unfortunately for us and for the viewers, Snute does not have another Terran in his group.
That's true.
But if he proceeds, we may get to see him use this style once again. I'm very curious to see how some of the other players react to it. And it may be just the same thing that Stardust was telling me about ZvP. You don't figure out how to beat that style. You figure out how to not have that style happen in the first place.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see if we get the opportunity to see that again, because we already have 2 Terrans in first place in our groups, in Tasia and Yoda. But without further ado, ladies and gents, let's head over to Paul on the couch.
Thank you very much, James. Yes, Snute is fresh from his glasses wearing in the booth. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm really happy I was able to show this style of ZvT again.
I thought you were going to say you were really happy to show this style of glasses wearing. That too.
I was spending some time with Bunny, Suppy, and Sasquatch at an amusement park because we were waiting before we went here to Toronto. So, we won a lot of tickets from the arcade.
I heard about these tickets, yes.
Yeah, we had a great time.
You did.
So, it was really nice to have an off day. I don't really have that all too much. So.
Did you well? Because you've come back very strong. Yesterday you were... Fair to say that you were a bit mentally broken after that first game that you had, which was just so long, and then went into your second match almost immediately and fell, and it really kind of hurt you. But then you had to get back up again this morning and face Hero again after beating him once already. Yeah. He's only ever lost 2 games in Intel Extreme Masters history in 4 tournaments, and you've beaten him twice in the same weekend.
Yeah, I think Hero is an amazing player. I think on average he's way better than me. But this style is not something that you get a lot of practice against in Korea. Yeah, it's way better to train in Europe to face this kind of style. Yeah. So I think that he wasn't maybe as prepared as he could have been. So yeah, it was a little bit sad to knock him out. He's such a great player. I would love to see him advance as well.
Yeah, indeed.
But I'm really happy I was able to.
Of course. And fantastic for your chances with BlizzCon. I know you don't really want to talk about it, so we'll skirt over it for now. But every victory takes you a moment closer, so that's all good. MaSa, trickier opponent than perhaps people might give him credit for, because I know how good he is, you know how good he is. Ranked 101st in the world doesn't really mean anything when you get to the last 16 of Intel Extreme Masters. You've got to play your best game. You went for 2 Swarmhost games. Why? Tell me why.
I think these maps are very good for Swarmhost play. Nimbus you can still play Ultralisk, but Foxtrot, Ultralisk are so clumsy that using them on Foxtrot is basically, it's so difficult to pull off. And Swarmhosts are really good in these scenarios, and you can take free trades. They're siege ranged units, so I think this style is just, after the patch I was not able to win games anymore with Mass Muta and Ultra. Right. And Team Liquid lost the Team Story Cup playoffs, and I was the ace player, and I was not able to win after the patch. So I had to really revamp my style in order to keep being able to win in ZvT.
And it's working out.
Yeah, this is what I came up with, and I think I'm hoping that it will be the new standard, because I watched so many games with Lingbane Muta and some amazing counterattack games, but most of the time it doesn't really work out and players seem a bit helpless. So I think this style has some potential, and that we'll see more of this and more mech games.
Okay. In terms of your progress through the group, you've got a tough game coming up against another Protoss, another Korean Protoss, regardless of whether it's first or SOS. One of them's got to play you next. But then you're actually playing for a place in the quarterfinal. And considering where you were 2 days ago, heading into an open bracket, which looked like the most competitive open bracket we've ever had at IEM, what are your thoughts now?
No, I'm just really happy that I got my mindset back on track. I had some rough weeks before going to the US, but being in the US cheered me up a lot, and being here has cheered me up as well. Yes. So yeah, I'm just really happy to be able to show good games again.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us, and take a break now and have good rest and get your mind right for the next game, and good luck in it. Could be your last game in the group stages. So there it is. Snute is your winner of the opening game. Maybe not quite the crowd favourite to start with, but I've got a feeling the Canadians might well get behind Snute for every match he's got left in the competition. We're going to move on to Group D next. You won't want to miss the next set of games, because the next set might just be the best of the day, even though Snutes were awesome. It's Scarlet coming up next against Life.